Welcome back, everyone, to Merge Conflict, your weekly developer podcast talking about all things of development, AI, and developer tools, and new iPhones, and new operating systems, and all that good stuff. I'm one of your hosts, James Montemagno. As always, Brent Kruger. How's it going, buddy?
Hi, James Montemagno. Yeah, we are the dev. Just put dev in front of anything. We are the Dev AI podcast. We are the Dev Code Editor podcast. We are the Dev Apple Mac talking about dongles podcast. Always with the dev tinge. It's going good, buddy. I am still on location. I will not be on location. I'll be at a different location next time, but this is my last on location. Location undisclosed. Haha.
For now. Dun dun. Yeah, I love it. Well, I appreciate you, taking gear with you and allowing us to continue this podcast. We're 400 and something into this. Is absolutely ridiculous. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy
Yeah.
talks. But before we get into listener bag, we're going to do a listener bag episode. So I went through the archives of our YouTube. Go to youtube.com/@mergeconflictfm. That's where you can find the pod, or you can go to mergeconflict.fm, which also has all the links down there too. We look at in our inbox. We have an email. You can go through the website. There's a contact button, and also YouTube comments. We also look at those as well. So we normally do lightning topics every 10 episodes, but I figured, listener bags are kind of also lightning topics. So I don't want to I just want to kind of go through. There's some people that have like a lot of questions, a lot of different things. Some are kind of just statements, some are questions, but I think we can discuss general topics too. We'll sandbox stuff and go from there. Before we get to that, I do want to talk about iOS 26, macOS 26, tvOS 26, because it's been a week since it came out or so.
Yeah.
You're all up to date?
Hey babe, I've been up to date since July. Yeah, I've been rocking it. I'll be honest, we talked about the beta summer, but I was a little bit bad on the beta summer. This is every summer this happens to me. 5 days before the release of the OS, I'm updating all my apps. I'm realizing, that glass thing, that actually moved all my buttons and made my buttons different sizes, and now my app kind of looks kind of ugly. I gotta fix some things. So I've been in rush dev mode, man. I've just been programming up a storm. So I don't actually have too much to say about the OS from a user perspective. It's more bubbly. There's more animations. I think some of the icons are a little ugly now. But I've mostly been dealing with it from the dev side of just trying to update all my apps and make them look good and act good on all the 26s.
Nice. Yeah. I think, so I updated everything to 26. I don't know if the TV's updated, but I have the watch. I got the,
forgot about that one.
Got the watch. You have to go like into the watch app, do a thing. I would say I have the Series 2 or whatever, SE2, and there's very minimal change. Somebody's using the custom watch faces at all. So like the app icons are a little different. And then like the little, bubbles and stuff are a little bit different. Like when you tap on, like the, mute or whatever, so I see you see a lot less on the watch, so that's like fine. On the phone, yeah, it's like it's obviously very apparent what apps are Apple apps and been updated and which ones aren't. The American Airlines app updated and said it's like liquid glassified, but it's like kinda like
not much glass, huh?
The bottom toolbar is what I think everyone will start upgrading quickly, and then the rest of things will kind of move over time because there's like a lot of custom styling that's happening. So it's like glass-ish basically. So it's very apparent what's been upgraded and what hasn't been upgraded on iOS. And I think that's fine. I definitely have a problem that they decided to keep an old keyboard and have a new keyboard based on what the app is doing. That is bananas to me and inappropriate.
I'm okay. So from the dev perspective, the thing driving me nuts is the keyboard accessories. They don't. So when you're writing an app and you want to add a little UI to the keyboard, it goes above the keyboard. It's real smooth. It's been there since iOS 2. It is very poorly integrated into the new roundy edge glassy keyboard because you got this beautiful glassy keyboard with a really super thick padding margin, whatever you want to call it, at the top. And then the accessory with its ugly whatever rendering, non-glass rendering on top of that without the rounded borders, not integrated well. Apple, you're killing me. Come on, let us make our apps pretty also. And it's funny that you mentioned, it's the nav bars and the toolbars. If you just recompile your app using Xcode 26 and you don't have too many buttons in your app's probably going to look pretty good, and it's going to get all that updated glass stuff. And honestly, I think some of that can look good. The downside is the buttons are huge now. And if you test this on, let's say, an iPhone 11 that you've been using because you dropped your phone in the ocean, you realize you actually can't fit much on the screen. Like, this feels smaller than the iPhone 3. I got to be honest. Like, I feel like I could get more buttons on the iPhone 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, forget where I'm going. Glass, good, but bad sides. Also, the keyboard is killing me.
The thing that got me was that the wallpaper that I had, there's a tint mode that you can put on it, and it's not a tinting at a different color. It's putting a black opacity like layer on top of it, like you would for like a thumbnail. And when I first went and I scrolled over to my app drawer, you couldn't like read anything because the contrast was so crazy. I was like, what's going on? I was like, I have to be able to fix this. So I toggled that on. That helped a lot. Like when you like go to edit your wallpaper and you can change colors and size and all this other stuff. So that's been good. Yeah, it's super circly, super whatever, crazy, like just animations for no, like, I think the animations are fine. There just seems to be like tons of animations for like, they're not necessary. I will say it does run pretty good on my iPhone 11 Pro, and I'm really surprised actually that it does. And the battery seems to be okay. I mean, I'm mostly at home, but yeah, a lot of it just, here's my TLDR, at least for iOS, is like most of it feels completely unnecessary. And it's also fine. Like, it's also fine. I'm not mad at it. Like, I'm not like, I regret upgrading. But like, it seems fine. Like, there's some weird choices, like definitely an iMessage or the phone application. Like, voicemails are now gone. Like, no, put them back.
Yeah,
some weird.
They're doing the hiding thing. Like, they hide messages. I hate that. I hate that so much because I don't have a good contacts list. Half of my friends, I don't know their names. You know, skipping non-contacts is terrible. I will say, I agree with you. 95%. The other 5% is Safari. The thing at the bottom is absolutely atrocious. There's no room. You have to click like 20 times to get to your tabs. I highly recommend everyone go to the settings app and reconfigure Safari. I'm old school. I put the search bar back at the top so I could have some buttons at the bottom. You do you, but definitely take it off of their new default mode because it is atrocious.
Yeah, it's really crazy because they seem to want the search bars and the native apps on the bottom for everything. Yeah. And I know that's kind of how Safari went and all this other stuff, and even like Edge that I use as well is that way, which I think is okay. But it feels like that's not what I want to do 99% of the time is search. Like, even when you open up like, mail or message, like there's just searches on the bottom instead of being hidden under. And I think that's fine, but also like things are feeling definitely more cramped. Then the thing that I really have, at least on iOS, apparently for me, is like everything, and this probably was a problem before, but it wasn't as pronounced. Everything has the same amount of importance and weight because everything is bigger and everything is taking more space and everything has the same look and feel and color. Like it isn't, my eyes are kind of like, where do I go? Right. If that makes some sense, because nothing is special anymore as far as where my eyes should be drawn to the action I would most likely be performing on the page. So I think that's a little confusing, but in general, you can just upgrade. It's fine. It's totally fine upgrade. It's going to take a little bit to get used to, definitely, if you have some older parents or grandparents, just, get ready to do a FaceTime call with them and have them share your screen, bop around and stuff. But I did update macOS 26. And I've only used it today for a little bit. And I don't know what they're doing. What are they doing to this operating
system? They're adding borders to everything. Rounded. Do you like rounded rectangles? I hope you like rounded rectangles because there's rounded rectangles everywhere now.
But the thing is, Frank, they were already rounded rectangles, but now the rounded rectangles, they went from like 10 to like 80. Like, what are you doing? But there's rounded inside of rounded. And then we talked about this. There's so much roundness going on. But what I did is I snapped 3 windows side by side, and there are so many pixels being wasted in space that you will never get back. And I know it sounds crazy, but even right now I have Edge full screen, and there is a border, I'm like, I am losing pixels of Frank's face right now on this recording. And then here's the other part. I open my app, my stream timer, next to like the settings app, which is kind of equivalent. And yeah, the transparency of the translucent stuff isn't there, which is very fascinating on the new stuff. On the old stuff too, obviously it hasn't been updated. So does the old toolbar, but everything is so much smaller on the old one. Like everything is tiny.
Mm-hmm.
Like on the new ones, like everything is ginormous. The little hex button, this button, the I'm talking about like the all the everything is huge. And I
Yeah.
find it really weird. And I know it almost feels like a beta because I'm in the settings and I'm scrolling to the bottom really fast and the setting icons are popping in.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that too. Apple's always preloaded and pre-rendered all that stuff.
That's crazy.
I don't want to be that person like software quality is going downhill because in truth it just ebbs and flows. It goes up, it goes down. Once it gets bad enough, they get their senses and they improve it and all that. But
Yeah.
whew, boy, this thing felt like it needed another year in the oven. Um, I,
Yeah.
I don't want to be totally named, but like iCircuit has so many things in the toolbar, and what you were saying about everything has so much space and everything is so big now.
Yeah.
I don't know how to redesign that toolbar. The toolbar needs to be redesigned because it looks terrible on iOS 26 when compiled for 26. If it's running in compatibility mode, actually things lay out nicely. But I'm having to take actually a step back to actually redesign my app. I think that's one of my complaints is this graphical design that is Glass has really interfered with user interaction design
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like lots of icons hide now. Things are always hiding. This AI thing, a little separate from Glass, but they're always filtering things now, hiding things. That's hiding. I don't like it. But
Yeah.
we'll deal. We'll deal. I'll redesign my toolbar. It'll be fine. I'll just have to put 80 pixel borders on everything.
Yeah. It just seems like things are in the wrong place and I don't get it, but we'll see. We'll try to give my macOS update review as I use it more and more. It's going to take time. Like, I think it's fine to update, apps will update over time as it gets ready. It is in a weird, funky state right now. And some of the app icons are really funky.
Yeah.
Apps that haven't updated or haven't done stuff. It's like they have like weird gradients and weird things going
Yeah.
on. And I'm not using any special tint or see-through stuff. Just kind of normal light theme, dark theme, and things are
Well,
funky. Light mode is really funky. It's like super fun because it's
yeah.
like that contrast is so harsh on the glass.
It's a little bit sad that we're moving. Like Mac icons used to have a silhouette, a shape, and color. Now, because every icon looks like an iOS icon, a rounded rectangle, now it's only color. It's only the thing inside the icon that matters. The shape is gone, the size is gone.
Yeah.
By the way, little plug, go to preclarum.org and go read my latest article about how to use Icon Composer in your own apps to make your own apps rounded rectangles because I had shaped icons for a lot of my apps and I had to figure out how to adopt the new Mac look because you can very rapidly, easily tell if an app's been recompiled for macOS 26. They get an ugly gray border on the icon, and that's how you tell an old app from a new app. And I'll be darsh gone. Nope, I'm not having it. I will not have old style looking icons in my apps. So go read my blog article on how to use Icon Composer to update your .NET or whatever apps you're doing. You got to update
Nice.
your icon. It's required by law now.
That's gonna be my whole week, I guess, is updating on my app. Like, I gotta transition. I gotta do a bunch of stuff. I got so much work to do, but let's get in the listener bag. I have a little bit more context on these where I pulled them from, so I'll read them and then we can discuss. Okay, so out of nowhere, this is a very random comment on our 479 episode of Spec Driven Development from Dovey. One comment, not a question, statement from Dovey, which is Python is confusing. Frank, what's your reaction?
Sad, heartbroken. That's my reaction. Sorry, I'm in the camp. I think Python's probably one of the most elegant programming languages out there, just for consistency of syntax. I know there's a lot of people who don't like significant white space, but boy, I don't know. Like, it's easy to define variables, def. I think maybe, Python's up to version 3.11 or 12 or 13, who knows? And they keep adding stuff to the language. And a lot of it, honestly, is unnecessary. Do you remember an old book called JavaScript, The Good Parts?
Yeah.
It's because JavaScript is a big language with lots of ugly bits, but, the core language there is actually kind of elegant and simple. And I still feel the same way about Python. So I think when you get like not to be rude, but like a bunch of Java and C# developers writing Python, it can come out a little bit ugly. But I think for me, Python, I don't know. I don't know if it's, I don't know what it is. I think it's one of the most elegant languages out there. I love reading Python code because everyone formats it the same way. It's just so easy to read. But to each their own. I don't want to downplay anyone's criticisms of it. I'm just heavily biased in the I happen to love Python camp.
I think there's nothing wrong with, I don't think there's anything wrong with any languages, to be honest with you. I think in my year 2025, going into 2026, I feel like, yeah, just choose what languages make you happy. And if Python is confusing for you, then maybe it's not the language for you. And that's okay too. I don't think inherently there's anything wrong with Python. The one thing I think about Python in general, I was having some good conversations with people this week from like the Python Foundation and things like that, which was like the Python environment setup is a little confusing. But I don't think it's like, that's not like a Python specific thing. Like I would say for a lot of different programming languages, the environment setup isn't necessarily like simplistic. Like I do believe that .NET is one of the easiest setups out there as far as like the download, getting working VS Code, like things like that. But to be honest, that's also a pretty similar experience like Node.js and even like some other languages as well. You're just like download and install. It's like here, it's like good to go. You can run the command line. You're off to the races, right? So I think that there's many out there. I think with Python, I think because you have like the environments and like this and that. And then I think on that episodes, I was talking about pip and pip3 and all this other stuff.
Yeah. Well,
I know that there is I struggle with the environments a lot. And there's a lot of things around, but there is an extension called Python environments, which I think the entire purpose of it is to simplify environments so it can create, delete, and manage the environments, install and uninstall packages and do stuff for you automatically. So like that's kind of out there and important. I would say for me, I'm more confused by Mac terminal than anything else. But but I think inherently, yeah, I think as far as a programming language goes, like I don't want to belittle Dovi, but like I think like Python's totally fine out there. But I think if you're coming at it from another programming language, right? If you're a C# developer, you're like, oh wow, I look at all these other programming languages. When I first look at them, yeah, they're kind of confusing because they're not C#, right? Like if I was to read C++ or Java, I've done those in the past. I can kind of do that. But even now, as I've gone through more Swift and more Kotlin, like I can kind of traverse those in my head as well. But that's the only thing I can think of for Python is like the environment setup for development and things like that.
Yeah.
A little confusing.
Which is tricky because Python is a language. I was arguing on the language
side.
Yeah. The runtime is a whole separate bag of worms. And let me just put it out there as a reminder to everyone, because not enough people say this. Those environment things are optional. You don't have to use them. Those are honestly mostly for like corporations and people who work on 20 different packages at a time. If you just need a Python dev environment, just install Python and use it. Don't bother with all these stupid environment things.
I don't need like some other snake thing or whatever. Okay,
cool. You don't need all that junk.
That's good. Okay, go. That's good. Usually I just keep clicking in VS Code until it works. And like,
that works sometimes too.
Yeah. My recommendation actually is to install like Jupyter notebooks, use Copilot alongside and like start to learn some languages and have it do stuff for you and like have it build out notebooks. Are very, very powerful inside of there. And that's all going to be Python based. Okay, Ryan, this is from our episode where we talked about when I took an app from Spark, made it a Blazor app, turned it into a Maui Blazor hybrid app, and then published it. And we talked about publishing off to the App Store, which is in the App Store, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Ryan says, we've hit a point where making the app is faster than publishing it. What do you think, Frank?
I think we've been there for a while, honestly.
For iOS, it feels like that. Yeah.
I have to be like, this is the 80-20 rule writ large. Like, you always feel like you can write the app, but then polishing it and finishing it. And I don't even mean polish like making sure it's bug free. I mean, polish like you got to create an icon. You got to create an app description. You have to come up with a monetization method. Even if it's going to be free, you got to come up with a marketing thing. You got to come up with a marketing text. You got to come up with a name. You got to come up with a subtitle. You got to come up with good screenshots. I wrote a one-day app last week. It took about 7 days to write my 1 day app, but from a coding perspective, I was basically done after a day. But it took
Yeah.
me 7 days to get the thing published. It's not even published. It hasn't been. It keeps failing review. Whatever. Almost published. Well, I guess this is to the point. Yeah, I wrote the app in about a day, and it's taken me over a week now, and it's still not on the App Store.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Ryan, yeah, you're right. Now, obviously, there's bigger apps out there. Apps that take 3 months to write, and then it still takes 2 weeks to publish. But yeah, this is the world we're in. It's good and bad. The good is you need a good marketing if you're ever gonna have a successful app. The bad is it's super annoying. You just want to get the app out there.
Yeah. And I think too with this is it's always taken a lot longer than we would like to ship things for iOS, Android, or even Mac or Windows or any desktop that's out there if you go through the app stores, because it takes time just to get the assets in order. Make sure your app icon's great. Make sure that your description is good. You got the screenshots, you're making nice descriptions. Maybe you create a landing page for it. Maybe you do some different videos for it. Like a lot of that
Privacy policy.
Yeah,
Don't forget it.
exactly. All these little things are out there. And then, getting through the review process and doing things can definitely take a lot longer than just coding up the app, which is fascinating. I hope that it gets faster over time, like things that are just built in, and we could code up, it's do these 5 things, and Playwright would just take screenshots so you could update it every time or whatever. But I think the same is true also, on web dev, even though things can be faster, like we're using Spark and it's just self-publishing really fast. But it's different when you are okay, I need to not just publish an app. I need to set up a CI/CD pipeline, and then I need to make sure it's out there. And then what about custom domains? And then what about privacy? And what about security? And do I have all these little things in place? And that's just for a simple app. Now, once you have client server and databases and this, it is a lot more. Those components of running locally in your machine versus actually deployed need more time and effort and energy, in them, which is why they do take longer. So, and I feel like getting that stuff right has always felt longer than coding the app, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even if they don't.
The feels are definitely on the published side because you are mentally done writing this app, and now you're oh, turns out I have a lot more work ahead of me. And it's kind of, in some ways, that work's more important. The marketing is so important for your app that you need to devote the time to it. So even if it takes 7 days, it's worth it.
Yeah, and we've done tons of episodes on it. So browse through the back catalog to learn more. All right, so I think this was also a YouTube comment from Philip, and I don't know which episode it was on. I started writing it down, then I stopped writing it down. But Philip says, "I'm graduating in CS. Awesome, congrats. And they want to focus on C# and .NET. Love that for you. But I don't know what new technologies, frameworks are most required right now in the market, especially regarding an international company. I don't know if that matters too much, but maybe." So do y'all have any advice for this? I guess I can start. MVC, I don't know, just good old well, it depends. I would say this is it depends what kind of company you want to work for, right? Are you working for a small startup? Are you looking for a big enterprise? Are you going into an established company that's maybe middle, maybe small? It really is have they been around a while? Have they been around a little bit? You can have a small company that's kind of startup-y, but they might be around for 20 years and might have old VB code, and they might have old code that legacy code, right? If the company's been around for a year, if they've been around for 2 months, they already have legacy code, right? You're going to jump into that. I think with C# and .NET in general, it depends what you want to build. I always say, try to find a job in the thing that you really love doing. So I built mobile apps because I love building mobile apps. I'd say if you love building, websites, then probably MVC is probably going to be pretty solid in the enterprise space in general. Huge out there. Going to say web forms, but they're still out there. But I would say one thing I would probably focus on, and if you enjoy doing it, would be API development, because that is a lot of C# and .NET is API development that's out there. So if that's really one of your focuses and really mastering and being an expert in all the authentication bits and all the new stuff that's coming out and how you structure things and how you test things, I think that would be really strong, regardless if the front end is a non.NET technology like React or Angular. I would at least know how to I would at least know some of the basics of the .NET and C# stack for web front end. So I would know a little bit about how Blazor works, the modes. I would understand how Razor pages work, but more primarily MVC, which is tried and true in a lot of big enterprises using MVC out there on the server. I think that would be good. And then it depends, on just what the companies are doing. So whatever your portfolio, whatever you want to apply for, right? The first jobs I applied for were in C# .NET jobs. And then once I kind of, was like, no, I really want to do this. But it was my first job out of college. I was like, I'll just take a job, whatever they give me. You know what I mean? But luckily I did find one working specifically on WinForms was my passion at the time, doing C# and .NET. And that's what I did at Canon. So at least that's my recommendation, is to try to find something that you love. And if you're in a big city with a lot of companies, like if you're in like, New York, or in like Minneapolis, or in like, somewhere, some big city in India, right? Or something like that. I don't know. There's gonna be lots of opportunities for you to kind of to look around. I don't know. What do you think, Frank?
It's honestly hard for me to add to that because I think that was all good advice.
Yes.
I was just going to be even a little bit more general. Yeah, web development's become so large that I would say getting a grasp of all its little, all of it is kind of important. API development, the JavaScript frameworks, the backend development, the Blazors who try to make that easier, and then the more low level MVC kind of stuff. Sadly, web development's become such a huge thing, but every programmer needs to know how to do it. If you want to be employable, you need to know how to put up a website and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd say number one, just don't force yourself into one silo immediately. Don't say, I'm just going to be a back-end developer. I'll leave the front end to the designers. Don't do that. My advice would be learn how to write a little JavaScript. It's not the worst. You're smart. You'll figure it out. Learn how that should talk to your APIs. Learn how to, and then once you've done that and gotten miserable, learn how to do it the easier way with Blazor and Razor pages and all that stuff. But I think you need to get a bunch of experience kind of quickly. So I would try each one of those technologies, come up with a very simple app idea, and write it 5 different ways using all those different technologies and see which one makes you happy so you know what kind of jobs to pursue. But also at the same time, just gaining the experience in all those technologies is important. So the question isn't so much like what modern frameworks do you need to learn, because that stuff's honestly going to change constantly. What you want is a good broad set of knowledge so that when new frameworks come out, you can adopt them very quickly.
Yeah, I like that. That's great. Yeah, that's our advice. Go off, find a job. Let us know what happens. All right. We had a whole bunch from Steven. I'm going to go through and pick my favorite. Oh, we can do quick ones. Quick ones from Steven.
Okay.
I'm going to go to the bottom down here. This was off of Twitter. When starting any new project incorporating Aspire, should you use the starter project and add components for Maui and new classes manually? Probably. I don't know. Maybe. Whatever.
I don't.
Oh, sure.
This one's on you, buddy. Come on. That's your best answer? Probably.
Well, the starter project is going to give you like a web, front end and back end and things like that. Like there's blank projects. You can scaffold it later. It's really easy to like set up an existing one. So whichever way you're going to go, I think if you're building a web app, then yes. And then eventually whenever Maui, I think, gets integration, they talked about like in .NET 10, like there's a lot of dashboard integrations and stuff. I'm imagining there'll be like a click a button and do a thing and then get Aspire as well. I would say like, regardless of how you set it up, I would absolutely recommend using Aspire no matter what from the beginning. Even if it's just like a simple, even for me, I would say some of the biggest mistakes that I've done in some of the vibe coding that I've done and some of these applications, like not having Aspire there, even if it's like a simple application, because it might grow over time. I want to add more stuff in. So I would say every single application should be in Aspire-ified from the jump.
I guess I'm doing things wrong. Thanks for the tip.
Totally. As far as Maui stuff yet, I don't know. I got to see what they're doing in .NET 10. So I kind of see how that goes. Yeah. But it's not going to hurt you to have it there. That's for sure. What techniques do you use to test your apps? Do you write tests, use instrumentation, check for memory leaks, heavy consumers? This is easy for me. I don't test apps. I test them in production.
Ouch.
So.
Okay.
No,
Done.
no, 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 no. Okay, I don't like tests. I don't like this. I was listening to Syntax recently, and they did an episode about like security and vibe coding and stuff. And I think one thing that I have been doing in my recommendations as I'm generating code is I make sure that the AI like write tests and like runs a test suite every single time to make sure it's not breaking anything. And I set that up with there's like MS test, you can use XUnit, any things like that. Um, and I think like that's been really really good. I don't do a lot of like front end to end testing, but if I did, I'd use Playwright because I'm a company man, so that'd be like our that'd be our front, and Playwright's really good. I use the Playwright MCP all the time, so that's cool. Um, but I mostly just test a lot in on my machine or in production in general. I just am not a huge fan of writing tests, I guess, in
Yeah.
general, and
Okay.
I don't do a lot of instrumentations or memory leaks or things like that until I actually have to, and which is pretty minimal. So I'm very different, but I build very different apps than maybe what you build, Frank, where I think some of the stuff's more important.
Yeah. Well, it just depends on the app. Some apps, in my mind, an app falls into two categories. It's UI heavy or it's doing something heavy,
Yeah.
like it's doing something complicated. For the doing something complicated apps, of course, I rely on unit tests for that like core functionality. For things that are actually hard, I find no benefit in testing things that are easy because you'll find quick bugs quickly and you'll fix those kinds of bugs very quickly. So there's honestly, it's wasted energy doing a full test run, hitting that 100% test coverage kind of thing. But for the hard part of your apps where you want to make sure you don't have regressions, where you want to feel free to refactor and make sure everything's still working, I absolutely do still test. All my projects have even very simple tests often in the beginning. And then depending if it's a UI heavy app or if it's a do something heavy app, the tests are the right size for that
Yeah.
thing. What I'll say I don't test is user interface. It's just too hard. I don't know what this Playwright thing is that you keep talking about is, but I've used every kind of UI test automation software out there. I worked on it professionally at Microsoft. It's all a waste of time. It's because you can only test a stable user interface. And the hardest part of user interfaces is they have to change and adapt all the time. See our discussion of iOS or macOS and iOS 26 at the beginning of this. Like user interfaces change, requirements change, humans don't change, but their desires change. And I feel like user interfaces have to be flexible and you have to learn to code them to be flexible. So it's all sadly manual testing for user interfaces. Not saying that's the perfect world. Yes, you will have regressions and all that stuff. But I would argue you're better putting your time toward good manual testing than putting all that time into scripting your UI and creating a very fragile system there for testing your UI. And honestly, most UI test frameworks are just going to die off in a year or two anyway. So you're going to have to recode all those tests anyway. So I would say
Wow.
that.
Harsh.
And then when it comes to performance and all of that, that's just constant due diligence. Most good debuggers these days show you how much memory you're consuming as the app is running. Just be a good developer and keep an eye on that graph. Use your apps for more than 2 minutes because that's, I think, the biggest problem developers have. They use their app for 2 minutes, find a bug, go fix it, add a feature. They're only in their own app for like a couple minutes. And that's where you don't ever get to see proper memory leaks or anything like that. So
Yeah.
this goes with the manual testing. When you're doing those long manual testing sessions, keep an eye on the memory count, keep an eye on the perf. As long as the app feels good from a user perspective, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's only when it feels bad from a user's perspective that you have to look at perf.
I
That's
love
it.
that. I love that. Yeah, I do a lot of manual testing. I think that, also we're, one person shops, right? It's a little bit different. Like I
Yeah.
do think that if you have the time, money, and resources, like you can have someone that is investing in this end-to-end UI test. And like that's definitely better, like some smoke test suite. But again, well, a lot of the frameworks like try to not be flaky. Like you can break anything by removing elements, right? And then the thing breaks. You have
Mm-hmm.
to update it, and the AI is only going to catch it so much if you're using that. So I think that's something to be cognizant of. I think for me, it's the same. Like the best testing for me has been using apps. When I was doing the cycling app, like I used it every single day, long sessions, short sessions, like seeing how it was. I'd let things run unintentionally, just like keep going and keep cycling. I'm like, okay, today I'm going to do an hour cycle. I don't know how many people are doing hour cycles. I'm going to do an hour cycle today. Not my normal, right? But let's go. And it's the same thing like for the skiing app. I'm like, I gotta go. I told them, like, well, app's on test flight.
Yeah.
Time to go skiing. We're going
Yeah.
skiing. Like, I need to use it. And like, that's the best way to test it for sure is use your applications for a long period of time. You're right. Totally.
Yeah.
I agree.
And you also have to be a good tester. Devs are the worst testers. We use our apps in the way our apps were designed to be used, that we thought of. So one of my highest recommendations is take a month off from ever using your app. And I know this is very hard for all of us, but after you finish your app, take a month off, totally forget about the app, go work on something else, go do something else, and then come back to your app and try to use it. And then you'll be a much better tester than you were a month previously.
There you go. All right, let's jump to Danny. Danny's got a few quick hitters for us. All right, we've got a phone, a watch, glasses, headset, TV. What's the next big wearable smart device?
Ooh, brain implant. Just gotta put it right in there. There's no need for me. Yeah, why should it be dangling off of my... I've already got dangly appendages. I don't need more stuff dangling off of me. I think we're good for a while. like the human body is only one certain way. There's only so many places. Like I would like to see more rings, bracelets, things like that. Things that are more comfortable. I guess the watch is basically a bracelet, but rings, whatever what else you can attach to us. Like there's going to be pierceable smart devices at some point. When are earrings and little studs and things like that? When are they going to be smart? They'll be smart eventually. But for now, I'm pretty happy. More necklaces, I would say. The Star Trek communicator pin.
Yeah,
kind of want one of those. I don't know. I don't even really like the watch, so I'm here for the glasses, and I think maybe a necklace.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that the things that we have, I don't think I need a new device. What I think we're going to see, and we're already seeing, is the devices that we have will start to add a whole bunch of new integrated features into them that we didn't think that they could before. We talked about it's not even on this list, but Frank's got the AirPods in right now. The new AirPods, right? They have the temperature sensing or whatever stuff and heartbeat or whatever it has.
Heartbeat,
it's like,
and
I never thought that would happen.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm full circle on that. I was dismissive in the beginning, and now I think I might put the money down for them because I've been picking up jogging again, and I'm like, my heart feels like it's pumping fast. I'm an engineer. I'd like to know what the actual number is.
Yeah. I think that stuff would be better. I mean, we've seen it in the watches. Like, again, I'm not a huge watch fan, but there's a lot of really smart technology packed into that watch that potentially could save my life. And I'd like to see other things do that. Yeah, I definitely think that the rings I've seen become a lot more popular with people. I've also seen recently beds, like 8 Sleep. It's very, very expensive, but they like built in, they're doing like a bunch of like temperature and things like that. Like, I think that's the one thing that I would love to see is more of just normal tech that's in our house getting smarter and more integrating, can actually just know more about us, I guess, in a smart way that we're using every day. Like if we're sitting there, I don't want it to be creepy tech, but I do think, for example, I'm looking at a webcam for like 100, 8 hours a day. Like, I'm wondering if it can sense something about my eyes or something off, or something like potentially, right? Imagine, if like I was about to have a stroke or something, and like it could detect while I was on, something was coming off or something. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I think that there's going to be opportunities for the tech that we have to get smarter, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just watching Tron Legacy, so I'll just add, we need more glowy bits on our clothes too. So smart clothes would be fine by me.
Danny asks, have either of us played with Flutter lately?
Nope.
No, I haven't. I've been playing more with like Swift UI, I guess, and that'd be about like the latest thing I've been bopping around with. But
yeah, me too. I'm pretty happy with the tool sets that I have right now, and Flutter's great, but it doesn't solve any problems I have, so no need.
There you go. Danny says, let's talk about the Meta Glasses presentation, which is Danny says was
Oh,
disastrous.
demo fail.
No,
Demos fail. It's just what happens, especially with new tech. I will say that poor engineering team, they're probably got quite a little lashing about that. But I don't know, man. They're fitting processors and batteries and Wi-Fi all onto those little glasses. Yeah, the software's going to be buggy for a while. It's just how it is. I feel a little bit bad. It's always fun to make fun of the big rich company and the big rich person up on stage, but we're all engineers. Have you created a perfect product?
no.
So I feel bad. I wish the engineers good luck in fixing all the bugs because they're getting yelled at the moment.
Yeah. No, I think that I watched it. I saw a lot of comments on social. And one, I've presented live demos many times in my tenure, and I've worked with executives that have presented things in the tenure. Uh, you know, it just shows the tech is real. It's not perfect. They're still
Yeah,
perfecting it. Demos are really hard, no matter how many times you have to imagine how many times that they rehearse that and how many
yeah,
times it went right just for it to
yeah,
go wrong. And
yep.
you see that. I'm recording this video currently, for example, just using like the coding agent and assigning issues to Copilot. And normally things pick up, gives me a little eyeball emojis within like 1 second. And I'm
Hmm.
on doing this demo and I'm like, it won't do it. And I was like, what is going on? Like, won't do it. And so it's like, even this, which is like, I'm not even doing a demo right now. I was like, here it is. So I think it's really hard. And like the hard part is actually planning for the unknown of that. You can always
Yeah,
plan for success and how it works, XYZ. And, Zuck, you know, he did okay, rolling
you're
through it. It's hard.
right. But this is like the old thing, like making database backups is fun and all. It's cute, but unless you practice restoring the database, nothing
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
And that's this. They if you are presenting new technology, they should have had a fallback from A to B to C. I mean, we all remember Steve Jobs up on stage asking everyone in the audience to turn off their Wi-Fi because
Yeah.
the poor phone couldn't make a Wi-Fi connection. So like I think we all should have learned a lesson, but it's just a good reminder that every year there's someone born who hasn't seen the Flintstones. Every year there's someone born who thinks that a demo is going to go fine because it worked on their computer.
Yeah.
No, you got to plan for failure. So I think that's the only part I would demote them. They should have planned for these failures a little better. Had a second device, had a backup Wi-Fi, all the things Steve Jobs demanded after that
Ju-
debacle.
Just a video backup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After 1, 2 attempts, like, hey, obviously, we want to try to
Mm-hmm.
do it live. So here we go. Right. So let's
Yeah.
do that kind
Here
of
was a
deal.
recording from earlier today when the stupid thing was working.
Yeah, exactly. And we do that. Like, a lot of times in big presentations, we'll have like a backup slide that's like, oh, and here it is, and then
Yeah.
we'll talk over it. So it's hard.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. You see .NET Conf evolve quite a bit, and I had a pretty, major hand with the team of I really wanted it, the keynote to be like super polished. So we pre-recorded everything, right? And I think it gives it a different vibe. Not that it's better or worse in any ways. It's definitely just different, right? And you can do it over and over again, make it look perfect, which is great, and the team does a great job. And all of it could have been one shotted as well, right? It could have been exactly the same as it. The difference is definitely the stress level. Like when we do .NET Conf this year, it'll be live,
Oh boy.
um,
Yeah.
and it's much more stressful, and that's just like any presentation. So it's out there. All
Mhm.
right, last one. I'm going to let you read it, Frank, because it's from Anson, and it's about me. So I'm
Oh
gonna it's way at
boy.
the bottom, and I'll let you read this one. I
I'll
feel
try
I
to
feel
do
like
this.
I feel like I wanted to add it on here because it is a kind of a I don't know if it's not a mean comment, but it's
Okay. Yeah.
a little bit of feedback on me ish, on me mostly. Uh, but on the podcast, this is our podcast, so I think it's good for us to address it and talk about it, Frank.
Sure. Okay. So a little bit of light criticism. James, hopping onto the vibe coding hype cycle, is making me cringe. Okay. Mm. Frank's hesitation was obvious and honestly understandable. I think that's a point in my favor.
That's a point. That's plus
It's
one.
it's giving off serious influencer making marketing for Microsoft vibes. Sure, he'll probably try to defend it by saying any model can be used, but let's be real, that's beside the point. The real issue is the bigger push to keep the hype rolling. And like any ad campaign, it's making me want to tap out of the podcast entirely. Oh, don't worry, we'll do something else annoying for you later. But lastly, I thought the Apple obsession was bad, and it is. This is somewhat worse.
Yeah.
So let me give a response first. We're both technology enthusiasts, and that it does mean riding a hype cycle. So while yes, you might get paid to ride hype cycles, I just ride them for free. No one pays me, and I still do it because I'm interested in new technology and I like that stuff. And if we over obsess on it, it's just because we're excited and it's new and it's interesting. I mean, we could sit here and talk about Fortran programming all day and C++ version OX32 or whatever they're up to. But I just don't find that as interesting as a new way to program. Like that I find terribly interesting and pushing at its edges and all that stuff. So I think the criticism, sorry, speaking for myself, is honestly valid because hype cycles are super annoying, especially when you see vibe coding, AI, ML everywhere. But at the same time, it's that's how new technologies are birthed. This is the classic cycle all technologies go through. You should have seen the GPU hype when Doom and Quake first came out. Those were just as bad.
Yeah.
Everything had 3D graphics in them for a while. So yeah, I apologize that we sometimes over obsess on things, and I do apologize because it can get a little bit annoying at some points. But at the same time, please see it from our perspective. And new stuff is more fun. New stuff is fun to talk about. And especially for me, programming languages and how we program is a very personal interest of mine. And I don't think sitting in text editors from the 1970s and writing everything from scratch is the way software is going to be written in 100 years. It's just not. It can't be. Software is too big. It's too complicated now. So we need alternatives, and I find this to be an amazing alternative. That said, James, please hype up and try not to make me cringe with your response.
Well, I think you said it pretty well. We've always tried to be our authentic selves on the podcast and talk about things that we're truly interested in and are using ourselves or are going to be using or have used and give our insight onto them. And I've always made it very clear, honest, and transparent that I work for Microsoft, and I've worked for Microsoft for almost 10 years now. And I work in our developer division where we build the tools that Frank and I use, not exclusively. We use a lot of different tools, but it's my job, right, to actually educate people about these tools there. However, like I also use a lot of other tools that we talk about. I'm recording this on a Mac. We talk about iOS a lot. We talk about new iPhones. We do talk about Microsoft stuff as well. We talk about Google stuff. We talk about the entire space that's out there. I do think it's a bummer that it kind of came off salesy. And that's definitely not my intention. I think in my 15, 14 years of doing developer advocacy, the one thing that I never like if I get a review on or feedback on a session that I did or a keynote or even a podcast, it's like, oh, it felt like a big ad. That means I failed like in it in general. I think on the podcast, I can be much more casual with you and the audience and the listeners because it's just the format that we're in. We're like, Frank and I are sitting down, two best friends talking about stuff, and we can get really geeky and deep into the woods on it. So I think it's a bummer that it's kind of coming off as influencer marketing. That's definitely not my intent. Now, intent versus impact, is very different that are there. That being said, like I will say this is for me, yes, I am often talking about Copilot and VS Code and VS and coding agents because the company I work for, which makes a lot of sense, that I'm not actually using. I mean, I do use our competitors out there, try them out. Like it's nice to have the finger on the pulse that's there, but that's not my day to day, right? I'm not using Cursor every single day. I'm not using Windsurf. I'm not using Codex. Like I have tried out all these things or I see them or I watch videos, but like I dog food the stuff that we build because I want our things to be amazing, right? And I have to like live that reality that's out there. That being said, kind of like Frank said, the reason that I got so interested in this technology and how things were transforming was really in and around a time that agent mode and background agents and all these things started to transform. And I started to heavily adopt them. This was like January, February timeframe. And I really decided to go just all in. And I built Feedback Flow. And it's like a real testament to like me going all in, building this full SaaS application that's really scaled. It has APIs and MCPs and backends and front ends and all these things and all these automated reports. I'm learning tons of new technology. And I didn't write any lines of code for that because I've been using the tools to build all these things out, synchronously, asynchronously, like before I go to bed, assigning things out, doing these things because I truly like love it. And like Frank said, I think it is and has already changed how many people develop software and will continue to change and develop software. I was sitting down with a friend and they were running into this issue on their backend that they were debugging. I just give them a 500 error, 500, and they're like, oh, I couldn't figure it out, blah, blah. I was like, you know what? Like, just put it into Copilot, put it in ask mode. You need to just to figure out where this error is coming from. There wasn't an exception that popped up in Visual Studio. I said, just put it in ask mode, put it in thinking mode, and then just ask like where this error is coming from. Like, when you call this method, this happens. And it took, 10, 15, 20 seconds. Like, oh, actually what's missing here is like you're using entity framework. This is looking for this foreign key, but you didn't specify a foreign key. Here's like 4 options for you to fix it. You can just specify it with the attribute. You can update this, you can update that. And like just that alone, not even like having it write code for you, but like diagnose and give deeper insights, like save them like hours of time. Like, could they have figured that out? Yeah, eventually. But I was like, when in doubt, just shove it into the thing. And I'll say this is like Frank said, it's about the technology. It's not about the product. I talk about the products that I use, right? In general. And for this, there's many products out there and there's many different coding agents. There's going to be a new one, like a JavaScript framework. There's going to be something new, right? And I'm going to focus on the ones that I use every day, which happen to be the ones that my company uses every day and builds and releases because that's what I use. But use what makes you happy, right? If you are a person that is a cursor person, a codex person, a Claude Code person, like they're all out there. I think it's about the technology space, right? That's out there. Like we have been Xamarin and then .NET MAUI developers, and we dabble in native here and there as well. But like we often have talked about React Native, and we talked about Flutter, and we talk about this stuff. Like, do we go super deep on it? No, because that's not what we're actually using every single day. But we know about the space. We're not trying to hide the fact that this stuff doesn't exist. So to me, it's not about the models. It's about, let me just be real about it. It's about that there's an entire new space, an entire new companies that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars based on that people are adopting this technology. And we want to be forefront of technology that's out there that vibes with us, right? So that's how I kind of see it in general. And yeah, I don't want it to come off salesy, but hopefully that gives additional context about why I've been going so deep into this for this entire year. And I think it's only going to evolve and become better over time. And I'm excited to see where it goes. And that's why we'll keep talking about it. Now, if Frank wasn't also excited about it, we wouldn't talk about it as much, right? We had a lot of ML episodes early on that I didn't know what he was talking about, but I still let him talk about it, right? But we don't talk about it as much, right? So I think that's the blend, at least. That's how I see the world.
Yeah. That's very good. Yeah, thanks for giving me that last bit of credit there because yeah, y'all, I saw this vibe thing coming years ago. Go back to episode 200 or whatever. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of pushback. Every time there's a new wave of a new technology, there's going to be a counterpoint to it. This is just how humans work. For everything we create, there's a counterpoint to it. A counterculture develops. And that counterculture becomes strong. And then that becomes the culture. And then there's a counterculture. And this is what we do as people. So I think I don't know. I never see you as too markety. Sometimes we talk about Microsoft products just because I use the products you talk about because I can always go to you for tech support. And
True.
That's honestly one big reason I often use those products too. But anyway, I think we made some points there. I won't even say good.
Well, and let us know, we're open to all comments, criticism, and critiques, right? Like we want your feedback. So I really appreciate everyone that's written into us, ever commented on any of our videos, replied to us on Twitter, or, talk to us in person about the podcast. Super appreciate it. We're here for that. Like we'll take it, we'll own it. and we'll also defend ourselves, when necessary, or apologize when necessary as well. And we've done that. We've made some mistakes on the podcast. We've gone and pulled episodes and apologized to people like once that happened. But we'll own it. I think that's what's important about it. So we appreciate all of you for listening all these years, or maybe this is your first episode. You're like, wow, this is a whole lot of different topics that they covered. But that's going to do it. Subscribe, like, do all the things. But until next week, this has been another Merge Conflict. I'm James Montemagno.
And I'm Frank Kruger. Thanks for watching and listening.
Peace.